Welcome everybody to today's Lunch and Learn. I am Jared. I work on the training team and I will be your humble moderator for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat. I'll do my best to answer it. Or if I don't know the answer, which happens, I will talk to someone who knows the tool really well and find the answer for you and send you an email afterwards. So whoever has a question, feel free to come off mute and ask it. Go ahead, Wade.
All right. I've been trying to update an account, a user account. I'm trying to get to my, sorry, I thought I had it up already. Trying to update account, and it is, I'm trying to get the exact step here. This one. And I'm using the update account step, and I'm doing the build data and just select the properties, but every time I try to update the account, it says I'm missing some piece of information that I'm not trying to update, like owner ID or something like that. Is it what's the best way to update an account, but only update like the person's name or something like that?
Programmatically.
So
like,
I'm pulling from like PeopleSoft. I'm pulling from there, or I'm pulling from an Oracle table, and their user's name is in there, and I'm just trying to update just the user's name. Like that's all I need to update, and I'm just hitting all these errors like, oh, you didn't try to update every other field that's on the account.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I would probably say the best way to, and then so this is an external integration, essentially what you're doing.
Yeah.
Let's see, let me check. I think there might be something under documentation. Here's what I would do. I wonder if it'll work on external integrations, but the thing I would try, because essentially what's happening is not everything, let's see, external entity, nope, that's not what I want. Essentially what's happening is there's specific fields that are required and not all those fields are filled out. So to answer the question directly, the easiest way to save or override just one field is I'm just going to use the internal account just to demonstrate this. I believe it'll still work for external integrations as well. But let's say I have my current account, which is the admin account. So let me fetch that. And we're going to fetch this field name. It's going to be the email address. Constant. We'll fetch it by that. And then what I'm going to do is, if I want to update, I'll add a save entity step afterwards to it. So save entities. It's going to be account. Oops. And so what will happen is let's say you want to edit something, just one field. A way you can do it is you can use a create data step or have a variable defined after the fact from when you retrieve that record. And then what you can do is you can say, hey, this is the update first name or something. And I'm going to say the admin account is admin first name. So you don't have to use just constants, but this is kind of the design pattern. And so then what you would do afterwards is on the output of the path on the create data step, you can change the value. Or let me show it in the edit the output mappings. You can edit the output mappings, and then you can examine the first. Oh, can I not examine the first? No, let me get the first one. Show path for one result. That's what I want. Because then what you should be able to do is there, haha, that's what I wanted, is you can then get access to that specific account if you just fetch that one account. And then I can scroll down and say, hey, I want to update the first name. I want to change the value of it to, let me find the first name. First name, that's perfect. I'm going to change the value to the first name of admin first name since my admin account doesn't have anything. And then I'm just going to then resave that fetched account, the entity result account. So what's happening here is the flow is executing, it's fetching that account, it's just changing the value of that specific property, and then I'm resaving it back again. And the save entity steps, let me debug and just confirm, but I believe in the save entity step, what happens is it won't create a duplicate account, is since it has all of the same ID properties of, inside that variable. If I go into my accounts and let me edit it, we should see that I have, there we go, admin first name added into there. And so I would say that would be like a similar design pattern you can mimic for your external integration, then just save it with a save entity step.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Yeah, so let me just go back to that. So essentially what we did, already got it open, is fetch the account or fetch the data, use a create data step, change the input to a constant, or if it's a variable, you can set it to a variable, change value on that property you want, and then resave it, and it should come up with that data. All right, another question, anonymous attendee. Is there a way to change assignment is no longer valid notification? Is there a way to change assignment is no longer valid? Could you elaborate on that one more? I'm not sure what notification is being referred to. If you can come off mute, talk about it more. Assignment is no longer valid. Let's see, assignment is no longer valid. Yeah, we just need more context. Yep, you're going. All right, anyone else have a question? Courtney, Jeremy, any other questions? Oh, Susie. Can you show an example of a rule getting set up? Sure. I'll show you a couple ways. All right, a rule getting set up. A couple ways to do this. So let's just talk about rules for a little bit. In decisions, we have a lot of default rules. So this is showing stuff to Courtney and create. All right, so I have this flow. Now in decisions, there are several different types of default rules that we have. So if you type in any of the mathematical operators, like greater than, less than, equal to, you'll see there's a lot of default rules and decisions. So let me type in greater than, and you'll see that I have a greater than date, greater than number, greater than in percents, greater than or equal to, length greater than, number greater than, all these things that will appear in your system. Let's drag one of these over. Now, since these are default into the system, they already come pre-populated inside the decision system with some inputs. So you don't need to define like inputs for your rules. They already come with inputs that you can utilize and interface with. So if I wanted to say if 5 is greater than 10, and we'll see that once I run that information, it will go down the false path. Boom. All right. So those are essentially static, or not really static rules, but those are what I'll call built-in rules and decisions that you can leverage. So anytime you're in a situation where you need to do a greater than, a less than, a equal to, or some kind of arithmetic operator, it's better to use just a built-in rule in decisions. Now, here's where we're going to transition to custom rules. So sometimes in decisions, we need to customize our own rules. And so over there, what we'll do in that situation is we will grab the create rule designer action, and we can create a myriad of rules that we need. I'm going to create a statement rule for you, but I'll talk about the commonalities between all the rules that you will need to do regardless of which one you set up. So the first thing, when you create a statement rule, click on it, name it, showing Courtney rules, because they are awesome. If I can spell awesome, I can't spell awesome. I can't spell awesome, exclamation point, enter. I wouldn't advise naming your rules that long, but I'm doing it because it's fun. And then what you can do is you have this rule designer where you can create each of the rule things you want. Now, in order to have a rule that is dynamic and that can take in data, you must always set up input data. That's kind of the main standard that you will always need to do for all of your rules, regardless of the rule types, whether you're creating a rule set, a matrix rule, or a truth table, they will all be needed for designing certain rules. So now I'm going to go ahead and say, let's say I want to define if this email address, I want to evaluate an email address and then a quantity. So now when I create that input, I'll have to give that data a variable name and a data type. The type of data is kind of like, hey, is this a number? Is this text? Is this a date? That's pretty much what the type is. I'm going to say the quantity is a number. And then when I close and save this, you'll notice that I have the email address and quantity up in the top. And I can utilize the email address input variable. And I can also utilize, let me add another condition, the quantity variable. So I can determine a multiple prefixes of what's going on. So in this case, I'm going to determine if the email address is admin@decisions.com. And then if the quantity equals, we'll say 5, right? So this is my custom rule. So the user account or the email address must equal admin@decisions.com, and then the quantity must equal 5. Now, let's say I want to use this rule inside my flow designer or inside a project. How do I do that? Well, if I go into the showing stuff to Courtney flow, what I will need to do is I'll need to grab this run rule step. This run rule step is just a generic template that we use to pick the rule that we've created. And in this case, I can go to recents and I have this showing Courtney rules because they are awesome rule that I created. And then I can left click it and use it. And you'll notice that the two inputs I created for it are also the inputs to the rule that I can pass into the flow. So if I say, hey, let's kind of evaluate this as a constant, I'm going to say that the email address is a constant. And let's say it's going to be, let's do jared@gmail.com. And then we'll say that the quantity is 5. And so when we run this, we should see the rule go down the false path because it does not equal Jared. Now, whenever you debug your rules and you want to see your custom rules and you want to see how they work, you always have access to this debugger view on the left, where you can click into the rule and you can see how it evaluated. So we can see jared@gmail.com is equal to admin@decisions.com returned false. And so that's why the rule returned false. But if I change this to say admin@decisions.com, and then I debug it, you'll see that now the rule returns true and goes down the true path. And then when I click on this, you'll see that it evaluated the both suffixes of the process. That's what we can see here. So that's pretty much the basics of getting a rule set up or utilizing rules and decisions. If you want a more deep dive into it, I would suggest enrolling into the decisions training course. I'm not sure if you have, but if you go to decisions.com/training, I'm going to put this in the chat so you guys have it. Hosts and panelists. So if you can, Roman, if you can give that to them, that'd be great. Over here, this is our deep dive training event for Submerse that's happening later on in May. But to really enroll into the training that I'm talking about, to get involved in learning the tool and even going beyond what I just demonstrated, if you scroll all the way down, there's this training registration button here that you can then register into self-paced training. It goes over rules, it goes over flows, it goes over reports, forms. It pretty much is a great learning for all of the decisions designer elements for the first half of it. And so all you have to do is just click on this button, fill out the form, and then you get enrolled into that class, and you can start learning today. So if you want to learn more about rules and expand your knowledge, that would be the way to go. I hope that answered your question. But if you have something specific you want to ask Courtney, go ahead and come off mute and you can ask it.
That was perfect for now. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right, I'm gonna go back to this other question. When you click on an assignment that is completed, you will get that when you click on something that is not assigned to you. That is completed, you will get that. Or so it's only if you're not. So when you click on an assignment that is completed, you will get that. Or, okay, so I can replicate that. So let's do this. let me just create I think I have a process folder, don't I? I don't. Designer, this is going to be testing some assignments. All right, now I'm going to create a set of process folder. User defined types, full execution extension, test more things. This is going to be my column name. And it's going to load. I'm actually going to create a folder here, and this is going to be hold my data, please. Create, and then I'm going to create a flow. It's going to be flow creation magic. Mwahaha. Sound like mwahaha. Sound like a mad scientist. And what I'm going to do is we're going to grab the setup process folder. All of this I'm doing I'm just trying to set up the scenario of the question so I can replicate that error that's the situation of that pop up so we all can understand the context of what's happening here. And if you're wondering if you're wondering why I'm developing so fast, I've been doing this for a while, and just like anything in life, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So what I'm trying to say is you too can get this fast. Not like an infomercial because, it's just, yeah. So I'm going to create a simple assignment. We'll call this assignment form test. And it's a simple job. We're just going to add a button. It's going to be very easy. We just have to click a button. So now if I use extension data and then extension share test assignments, build data, my column name is hello and prefix is test and description is test and test. Let me do button and assign it to me. Yes, and to be assigned, we'll do this as a test. Okay, and then I'm going to debug. Sure. Boom, complete it. Now what I'm going to do is that should have been stored in the process folder. So hold my data, please. Test. And so now if I view this completed form, so when you click on an assignment that is completed, you will get that. Or when you click on that assignment, I didn't see that pop up that you're talking about. It could, maybe it's let me look at this. Oh, that's just a button. I mean, maybe it's something localized to that specific version that you're using. I'm using version 8.10.1. I actually need to update because 8.11 came out. I don't know why I'm using 8.10. Yeah, it could be something that's maybe version specific. Do you know what version you're running on? Can you get the URL to work? Oh, so okay, so it's a URL and then hit the URL. Got you. All right. I'll come back to that. We'll come back to this test. But we just got other people on the call. So is there any other questions from anyone else? I want to make sure I get to everyone. And Marla, Renew, do you have any questions, or Jeremy? Feel free to ask a question. If not, I'm going to continue. All right, so let's go back here. Testing. I'm actually going to run this flow. So it should get assigned to me. I don't want to fill it out. I wonder if I can. How to get this? No, that's not what I wanted. Oh, assignment URL. Assignment URL. So I got the inbox. Let me refresh this. Print. Get link to assignment. Haha, copy text. And then if I work it. Okay, now I'm going to copy this again. And let's see what happens. Test assignment. You want to update this message? Is that what you're saying? I think that's the message you're talking about. Ah, got it. I wonder, let's see if there's anything in the settings that allow us to do that. Do we get any other questions? Let's go to settings. I think we have assignment settings. Just the least time. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. I'm going to ask in the background. All right, I've got that there. I'm going to open up and ask in our internal chat to see what somebody says. Is this message editable? Is this message editable? This message appears when a user accesses an assignment URL that has URL of an assignment that has already been worked. And then boom. All right, cool. I sent a question to our internal chat. I'll let you know what they say about it, if there's a way that that's editable or not. In the initial, I want to say probably not. I think that'll be a feature request if we could edit that. Or let's do this. This is gonna be pretty cool. Let's see if we can find out what actually runs this. So I'm going to do a little mystery. So I'm going to show the global debugger. I'm going to get this URL. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the debugger and I want to see if it runs flows or something. It doesn't. Okay. So I would say probably not. It looks like it's a system validation because no flows ran whenever I try to navigate to that assignment. So it's probably a default setting inside of it. Any other questions? No questions, clarifications? Right, well. If you have any questions, I'll be on the call for another 5 minutes. If there's no questions, then we'll go ahead and end it. Yeah, feel free to come off mute, ask questions, or we'll just call it after 5 minutes. All right. Hmm. Any other questions, thoughts, criticisms, analogies, syllogisms? Any other questions? Go ahead, Wade.
Thank you. Yeah, so I had the first question, right? And then I was having issues. I still having a little bit issues with update account, that step. So I changed it to the save entity like you had, and it worked fine. But still, I had one issue where I can't save or update entity name. I've done it directly in like a SQL query, but not in save entities. It's not updating. I check the input output, it's sending the right string.
You're
Is
trying to
there a
update the
limitation?
entity name. So is decisions installed against an Oracle backend?
No.
Okay,
I
it's
mean,
just,
it's just you guys host our server.
oh, okay, gotcha. So there's accounts. So we've correctly updated the first name. Now you're trying to update the entity name. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, first name and last name has been updated, and then entity name, I was just going to put that first and last, and then I can do it. I did it with a just a regular SQL statement, but then yeah, save entities won't let me overwrite that. I guess, is that expected, or am I doing something wrong?
I think it's expected behavior. Because the account, is this for a decisions account?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's for
it's
let's
like
test that.
they log in, through single sign-on. All it is email. So I'm trying to get it to automatically update it with their name and information.
Guys, so you're trying to change someone's name. It's change someone's email address, essentially, is the entity name that houses that.
Well, yeah, I guess entity name. Yeah, entity name supplies with the email address now.
Okay, let me try that. Probably don't want to use my account for that. Let me use a different account. Let's test it. Let's confirm this. Accounts, I'm gonna try to save this to, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna change it. All right, so we're going new for testing. We're gonna fetch entities. And we're gonna go for the account. That's the show path for one result. Fetch criteria. We're gonna do it by email. And then if I fetch that, oh, sorry. So I gotta go constant here. Constant, boom. And then fetch mail. So we got that. So let me just save entities. I'm gonna do account. I'm just gonna save one, but then I'm gonna actually change value. Try the same thing I did here. Sure, you're probably right. I'm just wanted to replicate the issue because it could be a way that something in the SSO setup that may be preventing it. Possibly.
But it still lets me do it directly in the database. I just can't do it via a step.
Yeah. Let me
Is there a
confirm
way?
that theory.
Okay.
Is there a way to, what was the question? Is there a way
Oh,
to?
like, is there a way to? I mean, I can do it in an update statement. Is there a way to put parameters in an update statement so I can just do it that way? Really what the end goal is, like on reports and stuff, the email, it doesn't make sense to the users. They want, and I don't want to have to put two columns for first name and last name. I just want to put a name, and that's my end goal.
Oh, just for the first and last name for that?
Yeah, I mean, just to have a column and not have to do like a calculated column or anything like that. I figured like, well, the entity name is the name, and so it should really be their name and not their email address.
So you're changing decision account. So I'm trying to understand it. You're trying to change the entity. So the entity name you don't. So the entity name wouldn't then not be an email address. It would be just like Jared Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it would just be their name. Yep, their full name.
Got
all
you.
I'm trying to update is first name, last name, and entity name, which I'm putting in their full name. So then I could use
Gotcha.
that full name, the entity name on reports to say, yeah, this person is who you're waiting on, or this person created this account or whatever.
I think that name is here. But what we'd be doing is it would be just like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just the name.
you're just trying to add the result.
And there's no errors. It didn't give me any errors, and it says it's, and for that field, it is the name for entity name. That's what it should be. But then on the output, it just says done,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't update anything with no, yeah, it doesn't give me an error like saying, oh, you don't have permission for this or anything. It just doesn't do it.
Yeah, it just runs. Yeah, I'm wondering if that. Yeah, I'm wondering if that. Yeah, I think that this name may be something that's not editable. I think you can do is you can reference the entity description, and maybe instead of storing using the entity name, you can just say, okay, we're going to add the short description to, Eleanor Evans. All right, so we're going to change this and we're going to change the short description. That's it. Let's find that. Or is it? I think I passed it.
Is it possible to put parameters on an update statement and do it just through raw SQL?
You can, but I think there's a danger to that because the entity name, that's how decisions references its own decisions accounts. In regard to utilizing the and how it just connects with the backend database to the actual web application. And so I'm wondering if the reason why if it behaves that way is because it's needed to be named that way because that's how it's referenced inside of the decisions environment for connection purposes.
Oh,
That's where the suggestion here.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
I thought the email was that key identifier.
Didn't get that. I didn't get no. Yeah, no, it's not the email. It's the actual entity name because that's the thing that lives in decisions. So like when you look at the accounts report, I think it's the entity name, and that's what it's referencing as. Where did I put that short description? Basically, I think the easiest an easiest workaround that we can do that's still a part of the accounts table is we can reference the distinguished name, and instead of having to use any combined like calculated column fields or whatever, all you have to do is let me edit this, and I'm going to change this distinguished name. Let's see, distinguished name right here. And then now if I, perfect, so I'd output this. So now in my report, all I would need to do, go in here, I can just find that distinguished name. Right here, and I'll just reference this field on the report.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just rename it name on as the column.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do an alias and just rename it name.
Are we allowed to add fields to the account type?
Add fields to the account type.
Yeah.
Let's see. The best way to do it. So we do have these things called entity extensions, which allow you to add additional fields to certain decisions properties. But the best way that our devs advise is just creating like a database structure of the additional fields you want, and then storing the account ID of the field associated with that account. So for example, if I wanted to know experience as a software developer or whatever, and I had like years of experience or tenure, whatever that I wanted to add onto the accounts table, what I can do is create a database structure and then store the ID of the corresponding account in that table. So it would be like one-to-one relationship between those two tables.
And the you would just relate them together or join them when you're trying to pull those whatever you're trying to add to those fields.
Correct. Yeah, you just do a join statement on that ID.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess I will leave entity name alone and just let it be an email and go about it. Yeah, use the distinguished name.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, that's all I got. Thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure. Alrighty. I will go ahead and conclude today's Lunch and Learn. Thank you so much for coming. We do these from Monday through Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow will be hosted by Braden Roberts. He is on the support team. So if you want to ask questions or have any queries or things you want to discuss, come tomorrow at 12 p.m. All right, everyone. Take care.